What's up? What's up? How is everybody doing? Welcome to RossonARI TV. This is another edition of Milan News, the newer version of Milan News, I suppose. And we have Antonio with us. So the old crew is back. The old crew is back. And guys, we're going to be talking about the market. We're going to be talking about Milan yesterday, Juventus. We're going to be talking about the season. That's actually what I want to start with today. But first of all, what's up, Antonio? How you doing, man? How's it going?
What's up, Roy? I'm doing well. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Yeah, I'm very happy about the win yesterday and got some really good news coming up. Interesting news yesterday and today, so it's good to talk about it.
All right, perfect. So you know what? Let's get started. First of all, let me say hi to Mr. Joel, who says Forza Milan, Mr. Milan Nestor, who says Rossoneri Heart, and Majidin Zerti, who says Forza Milan. Guys, before we get into this, remember to click that like button, subscribe, give us all your money, give us everything you own, and remember always Forza Milan. So listen, let's start with this. Let's since the season is over, this last game against Verona means nothing. We can lose, we can win, it doesn't matter. The season is over, the lines have been defined. Let's just give our opinion on, or let's rate and grade the season based on what our expectations were and based on what we achieved, etc., etc. So Antonio, how about you start and then I'll go. So let me pose the question this way. Antonio, how do you rate Milan seasons this year? Go ahead. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, from what originally my ambition was to maybe fight for the league. This is looking at last summer, and maybe and surpass the group stage of the Champions League. That would have been a good season for me last year. That's what I was thinking. But things changed in a few ways. First, the budget, the mercato in the summer turned out to be really, really poor. For me, only really Malik Chow was the main, like the bright signing for us. So I already started to lower my expectations after I saw that we needed real reinforcements. Our depth was not as good as we thought, and so that changed my perspective. Also, our group stage, made me pretty confident that we could pass the Champions League group. So I was expecting us to at minimum get past our group and to do well in the Champions League, and my league expectations kind of did decrease. Overall, UCL semifinal, very, very happy with that in the Champions League. So in Europe, we kind of achieved well. In the league, I think we underachieved. And although top four is super important, I'm very happy with top four. We have to remember that Juventus could easily be in the top four. And it's just a thing to signal that we need to make some changes and improve because we need to. This is too risky. We should be starting to fight for the league and not risking to leave top four. So I'm very happy that it worked out. Overall, because of just the results, I would say if I had to rate this season, maybe like a B minus, C plus, B minus. Like it's a passing season. We're doing fine. Not super excited about it, but it was a decent season. I just wish that we could have done more in terms of like preparing for the league that we didn't really do. And I guess also taking it into account our Supercoppa defeat 3-0, that was really unfortunate. And our Coppa Italia exit to Torino was really unfortunate too. So taking into those, I'd say maybe a C plus or a C, maybe a little bit lower. But it was a fine season. We still had some good games, some good memorable moments. I just wish we had won maybe some trophy to make it a really, really good season. But, it was an okay season. Hopefully we come back much stronger next year.
Okay, perfect. And I have a few more questions to ask you, and then I want to give them my opinion too. So also, I put in the chat a poll, your season rating, and it's the system is 1 out of 10. Um, so yeah, let me ask you something. What was your favorite moment in the Serie A?
Like in the like on any league day.
Yeah, your favorite game, favorite moment, whatever it was. We're just
Yeah.
talking about Serie A, not the
Well,
Champions League.
yeah. Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is the 4-0 against Napoli, just because that was so fun to watch. But let me think. That's a good question. Um, well, yeah, there's a lot of like we always play well against the better teams in Serie A. I think both games against Napoli we were the better team in Serie A. Both games against Juventus we were the better team. Uh, it's tough to pick out an individual. Maybe Inter is really the only team in the Serie A that like has given us a lot of head-to-head trouble. Um, I think for me, it's either the Inter win in the first half of the season, 3-2, where Leao just went crazy and scored, or the 4-0 against Napoli, one of those two games.
All right, nice, cool. Okay, yeah. Listen, I mean, yeah. I'll tell you what I think, and I'll give you my grade. So let me start with saying this. Like you said earlier, when I saw the calcio mercato, to me, it was very clear that this season was going to be very difficult. I was 100% sure from the beginning that Milan did not have any chance to win the Scudetto at all. Um, and I really had issues with our overall roster. So, having said that, we also need to put in consideration that Milan did not finish in the top four. Milan is in the top four simply because Juventus was taken. Juventus had points deducted. That is something that needs to be said. That is something that needs to be said, and we can't just forget that. So, in the Serie A, in my opinion, Milan, for the roster we had, did an okay season. Let's say I'll give it also somewhere like you said, a C, maybe a 5.5, a 6. I want to say that if we didn't have our injuries, you know, even with our roster, I think we would have been able to finish top four. But because we have that period with so many injuries, and then that psychological bond that happened with the team in January, that's the main reason why we did not finish in the top four. But if you take away those elements with the roster we had, we were supposed to finish top four. I don't want to say easily. It was going to be a struggle. There was not one bone in my body that was telling me that Milan was going to have an easy season this year with the roster we had. Now, as far as the Champions League go, I knew that we could have done well in the Champions League because when it comes to our best 11, best 14, best 13, we do have a good team. And we do have a good team for a sprint, but we do not have a good team for a marathon. So when you consider all of these things and then put them together, I give this season a 6.57 out of 10 because making the semifinals of the Champions League is a big, big feat. Okay. I mean, we cannot just pretend that did not happen. We cannot just look at the Serie A and be disgruntled about the Serie A and not look at what we've done in the Champions League. Remember, our success as a club is not because of the 19 Scudettos that we won. Yes, it is also about that. But our success on the club is because of the international trophies that we won, the European trophies that we won. That's what distinguishes Milan. The fact that Milan maintains its DNA, and the fact that Milan, even when they're not, even Maldini said, there's so many teams that are so far ahead of us, but but we are here in the semifinal in the last four of Europe. So that DNA is still there, is still intact, and to me, that's a very nice thing. I like it. It's very positive. So Champions League definitely brings the rating up for me. Overall, based on the roster that we had, we got a little bit lucky because of Juve situation and the Champions League. For me, I'm quite satisfied. I was not expecting us to defend the title. I'm satisfied that we finished top four, and I'm extremely satisfied that we got in the semifinal. I don't care that we got beaten by Inter. To me, that doesn't mean shit. I don't care about that. So for me, this was a very positive season at the end of the day. Also because Antonio, we are not a club that has been building for 20 years like Man City. We're not a club that has been that we have owners that have put 1 billion into this club. We're a club that is a gradual project of youngsters that now are growing and they're growing and they're growing, and the budget is very limited every year. So for me, this was a very positive season. So more or less, we have a similar opinion on the matter.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to say two more things. For one, I agree. The only thing for me, like in terms of the league, is I do want to get that second star really badly, and if we can do it before Inter, that'd be great. And Inter is definitely going to be challenging. Now that we're going to talk about Spalletti maybe later, but I mean Spalletti will not be at Napoli next year, so it looks like Inter will be the heavy favorites to win the league. And I want us to at least put up a fight against Inter and get that second star. And the other thing I'll say is the only thing about the Champions League for me that I know you said that doesn't really bother you. It kind of bothers me the way we lost the semifinal without really putting up much of a fight and being really limited without any tactical ideas. That was kind of frustrating. We didn't score a goal. That was tough for me, to be honest. But yeah, besides that, good decent season.
Okay, cool. And guys, make sure to vote on the poll and make sure to like the stream. Let me go to chat a little bit before we get into the reports of the day. Ronaldinho says 7.5 given our Mercato, an 8. Okay, yeah, that is. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I chose 7 because somehow we reached the UCL final. Ricky M says. Paul fucking loves bruschettas. He wants a bruschetta. Salad solo run against Napoli. Oh yeah, my favorite. Let me. My favorite moment of the season, aside the Champions League, of course, was the first win against Inter. The double win against Juve, beating Juve twice in a season is always nice. Our performance against Atalanta was badass. The second one, and of course, the game against Napoli was great. Um, and then the game against Lazio, I thought Lazio just didn't show up. But yeah, so we did have some good moments in the Serie A, very good moments in the Serie A. The second star before Merda is a must. Now, I think that if we have a good market this year, also Pioli has said we need to strengthen the team. Like now that the season is over, Pioli is talking. He's saying what he actually thinks. He's saying we need to strengthen. If we strengthen the team properly, I think we can win the second star before Inter. Let's do a few more comments, then let's get into the reports, Antonio. InvestCorp is looking to purchase Inter. It looks like as well. If that happens, then Inter will have much more financial backing than Milan. Yeah, probably. Who knows? We'll see. Doesn't Inter have paid what? Doesn't Inter have paid this summer and lose some of their key players? I think Christian is drunk, and I'm not sure what he wrote there. Leo replied to my comment on his YouTube channel, guys. He's the best Milan player ever, guys. What the fuck? Leo replied to Joel. Can't be that. Can't be that. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start. Roy, did Leo copyright? No. We got a copyright from the Booty S Liga, the German league. Okay, so guys, let's get into the first report. It looks like at this point that Kamada is a done deal. The Japanese international will be signing for AC Milan. It is just, even Gazzetta dello Sport reported that the acquisition will be officialized very soon, even maybe during the week. Basically, they were waiting for the confirmation of the Champions League. So now it looks like Kamada is our first signing alongside with Sportiello. Antonio, are you there? I know you're having some connection issues.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. So let's get into Kamada. It looks like Kamada is going to be joining Milan. Yeah. So before you, I want to hear your opinion and let me know if you have anything you want me to share. So the Japanese international will sign a 5-year deal.
Basically, after we
Hello. Okay. Let me just finish reading this and then let's get to you, Antonio. The Japan international will sign a 5-year deal as a free agent after his contract at Eintracht Frankfurt expires at the end of next month. Milan have beaten Atletico Madrid in the race to sign the 26-year-old, who has also turned down a top proposal from Borussia Dortmund too, as it looks like Paolo Maldini and Ricky Massara have landed their first outfield reinforcements of an important summer. Fabrizio Romano confirms that there's a verbal agreement in principle between Kamada and Milan, who are optimistic but careful until he signs. The player himself picked the Rossoneri over other interested clubs and will undergo a medical in 7 days. Before you get into it, Antonio, I want to say I like the fact that we have beaten teams like Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund, which is a big upgrade from who we were competing against when it came to CDK. We were competing against Leeds, against lower division club teams, but these are teams that Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund are in the higher divisions of their respective leagues, which means that they also value Kamada highly. All right, Antonio, go ahead. Give us your thoughts and tell me what you know. Oh, it looks like Antonio has disbanded. He said that he was having some connection issues. So it looks like it's just me for now. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, listen, that's the one positive thing that I can extract from this is that Kamada was being sought out after, Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid is one of the top 3 teams in Spain. Borussia Dortmund, one of the top 2 teams in Germany. So these are top teams that were looking for him. And, when the scouts of the top teams are looking for a player, that does mean that this player might have some good qualities. Do I personally think this is the best signing Milan has ever done? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that he is basically another Çalhanoğlu. A lot of people didn't like Çalhanoğlu, so I don't know if they will like Kamada. Technically, tactically, he's very similar to Çalhanoğlu. Right now, Çalhanoğlu has also reached a certain stage in his career where he's performing at very high levels. So it is our first signing. It looks like he is our first signing, and I don't know what to rate it. This is the truth about me. All right, I'll be completely honest with you and how I feel about the mercato and what I would like to see. If we would have signed Kamada 3 years ago, I would have said this is a 10 out of 10 signing. If he would have signed him 2 years ago, I would have said this is an 8 out of 10 signing. If he would have signed him 1 year ago, I would have said this is a 7 out of 10 signing. But signing him now, for me, this is a 6.5, 6.5 out of 10 signing. Because as the years go by, the more this team needs to improve, the more this team needs to amplify the spectrum of its objectives. We need to become a Champions League reality. We need to be fighting for the Serie A. Are these the players that are going to help us do that? I think so. But, one thing is we need to get to a point where we get linked to some serious players, and we get some serious players. The player that we want, that everybody wants at the end of the day is SMS. Now, that is a top level G. That is a 100% top level G. That is the kind of player that will improve your roster. That is the kind of player that will be right away a leader. That is the kind of player that right away will push the starting 11. That is a player right away that will take a spot in the starting 11 over almost anybody that plays in those positions. So this is where I would like Milan to be. I am very, maybe I'm being a little bit impatient. It is only 4 years into the project, and we know that this project is a slow-paced project. It's not a fast-build project. It's not like Inter. Inter was a project that was built really fast right away, but now it's kind of dying out. But yet again, they're doing really well. Milan is completely different. Milan is a very slow process, and I'm just looking forward to the point where we can actually get some signings that make me say, yes, this season we're going to fight for the Scudetto. Yes, this season I'm 100% sure we can win the Champions League. So, when I hear some of the names that we're being linked to, I'm not really getting those vibes yet. I am getting the vibes of, okay, Milan is strengthening its core. Milan is, strengthening bit by bit. But let me to be a little bit more optimistic, let me put it this way. If our first two signings are Sportiello and Kamada, I would say that is a good start. I think this is a better start than last summer mercato. That is a better start than last summer mercato. So already we can definitely see an improvement, right? We will see who the marquee signing is or the signings are. One thing that is very peculiar about this summer mercato is that there are a lot of free agents, Kamada being one of them. There are a lot of free agents, and some of them are very good. Some of them are very interesting. Also, there are a lot of players going towards the end of their contract. So this is a mercato that is very, very, very interesting, and it is a mercato filled with opportunities. Now, let's be the optimistic Roy. In my optimism, I think that Maldini will do a good job this mercato. He will do a good job by the end of it. So by the end of August, when everything is said and done, I have a feeling that Maldini will do a good job. Also because, again, I've said this a million times on this stream, that the big difference between this summer and last summer is this main fact that Maldini, before the calciomercato, didn't even know he was going to be continuing with Milan. The club had that the ownership exchange, and that definitely derailed the market. This summer, we know Maldini has no obstacles in front of them. The club is what it is. Jerry is here; he's here to stay. Redbird is here to stay. Maldini is not going to have to worry about his own contract. Now he can just worry about the contract of the other players. And this is why I think that Maldini this time is going to have a really good market. So, Kamada, Sportiello, better already than last season. But I really want to see some names that excite me. I really want to see some names when they come in. I know for a fact, I can come on the stream and tell you for a fact, okay, Milan now has improved drastically. Now Milan is has a top G roster. Until that happens, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to get overexcited about anybody. We're just going to report things the way they are. Now, I don't know if Antonio is coming back. Let me ask him. If not, we're just going to continue. All right. Okay. Yeah, he is coming back. Let me just do this. In the meantime, guys, keep on voting because I'm going to get to your votes, and keep on like. We only had 13 likes, guys. We have almost 40 people in the stream. Keep on clicking the like, and I'll get to the comments in a second. Just give me 1 second. Let me get Antonio back in here. All right, so let's get to the comments, and then we'll move on to the next subject. Roy, is there anything concrete about Luis Openda? Well, Openda is someone that we're going to be talking about today. Openda is a signing that, to me, seems a very good signing. It seems like a very good signing. And we'll see how that goes. Let me go back. Let me see what I've missed. Thank you, Ronaldinho. Appreciate the love. It's a miracle we won yesterday with Messi starting and playing 2-3 of the game while we have Salah Messi on the bench. It was a good win. Very happy to see Milan win, even though I would say that Juventus probably deserved it more, but, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we got the goal and we won. Dortmund choked the Bundesliga in front of their fans. I know, crazy stuff. His ball recovery will certainly help us out. Inter killed us with the second ball. Yeah, one thing that Kamada I did notice based on his technical abilities, and he does have a very good ball recovery qualities. We'll talk about SMS today for sure. If we can get SMS for 30 million, Kamada and Tielemans for free, that would be good for the depth in midfield. Okay, now that I can agree with that, Joel. I can agree with that. We will also be talking about Tielemans. Forza Milan. Joel, Dream, and Brokeberg won't spend that much. Guys, Brokeberg spent 35 on CDK. Why wouldn't they spend that for SMS? Firmino linked to Real, sadly. Should they spend 30? Yeah, that's what I said. If Kessie going to join Inter, these rumors come up and down, but I don't know. Roy, normally agree with you about everything except Loftus. He was better against Benacer and Tonali in UCL Forza Milan. Yes, but that game there, man, we cannot judge that game there. That game, it was a very particular game. As I said, like in the state that Milan was, in the state of Milan during that current period, for that specific day, any team would have beaten Milan. It would have been Cremonese. It could have been Lecce. It could have been any team. Any team would have beaten the Milan that faced Chelsea that day at Stamford Bridge. Any day. Bro, my dream signing is still Gonzalo Ramos from Benfica. Leao better convince him during the national games coming up soon. By the way, Leao looks like he will be renewing now that we have solidified Champions League. I hope we can get Tielemans, Frattesi, SMS, and Scamacca. That would be fucking brilliant. We won 120 million just from CL this season alone. We can't have any excuse not to spend. Guys, I don't know what's going on with the budget. I have no clue what's going on with the budget. It is very strange. I don't understand it. I don't think anybody does. All right, guys, we have more reports. So let's get to the next reports. So Kamada. Let's see this right here. Interesting, because Ante Rebic was the subject of also other few Milan YouTubers, the Italian ones, Vitiello, etc. Pretty much he was confirming that Rebic's time at Milan is done. So let's look at this article and then let's talk about Rebic a little bit. Ante Rebic was left out of AC Milan squad for the Juventus clash last night, and it filtered that it was a technical decision by Stefano Pioli. This afternoon, more updates have arrived on the matter. It's been a very tough season for Rebic, scoring just 3 goals, and he's destined to leave Milan in the summer. It's not exactly shocking that his motivation was decreased in the last few weeks, but it's still alarming. According to CalcioMercato.com, Rebic trained with very low intensity in the training sessions leading up to the game, as opposed to his teammates. Pioli has always relied on Winger, but this time he chose to exclude him from the squad. The unprofessional behavior is another clear indication of where Rebic's future is ahead. He has suitors in Germany and Milan are hoping to capitalize on his departure, aiming for a decent capital gain, which can be reinvested on the Mercato. Now, I think the majority of us could see that Rebic's time at Milan was done. The majority of us was able to see that. So he is done. He's not training properly. Juventus has always been his bitch whenever he played against Juve, but not this time. He didn't even care to make Juve his bitch this time. And going back to this question here that someone asked, Openda, I think Openda would be a great replacement for Rebic. If I were to replace, if you ask me, who would you replace Openda with, Rebic with? I would say Openda. Young, very young, still a lot to put. You know, when it comes to youngsters, there's always the gamble element. So Openda though has very interesting qualities. A player that can play in all 3 positions up top, right wing, forward, or left wing, but a player with a lot of speed. Right? A lot of speed. So I think, having an additional player that can attack with a lot of speed like Leao does would be a good move to increase the depth and certain qualities of the roster. Also because, when Milan does play against open teams, which is most of the case in in Europe, having these players definitely helps a lot. So I would say in my opinion, Openda probably right now would be my first pick to replace Rebic. And there's other players too that I would replace, and we'll get to them. But Antonio is back. What's up, Antonio? Are you with us now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Listen, I may have some issues. I'm still on my computer, so I'll see how it goes. If not, I'll join on my cell phone.
I'll just send you the link for your cell phone. Listen. So you left. I spoke about Kamada. Was there anything else you wanted to add about Kamada? Your opinions and your thoughts?
Yeah, I did see a statistic that says that Kamada is one of the top goal-scoring midfielders in Europe in the last 4 years, which is pretty. Played both the cam and a deeper position in the midfield.
Hey, Antonio, you're
really good piece
Antonio,
of business.
Antonio, your sound is going in and out. I'm just going to send you the link. Just join with your phone, okay? All right, just join with your phone. Okay, and then we'll get to hear Antonio's opinion on Kamada. In the meantime, as we wait for Antonio, let's see what else you guys have in the chat. My dream signing is Federico Baschirotto. Get him now, Maldini. Paul is enamored with Baschirotto. I have no clue why, but it is pretty strange. Okay, Antonio is back. There you go.
Hello.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was saying about Kamada. I was saying, for me, he's one of the top goal-scoring midfielders in Europe in the last 4 seasons. I think only Bruno Fernandes has scored more goals. That's a stat that I saw somewhere today. This guy can play both the cam and the deeper midfield position. So he also can contribute defensively, and he's really, really versatile. So I think he's a good fit. And for free, it's a really, really good deal. $3 million a season. So I think good piece of business overall.
Okay, so you're pretty happy with the Kamada deal, huh? And listen, let me ask you a question, because one of my concerns is that I think Kamada will come to Italy, and like most players that are not elite G's, they're going to have the reality check of Italian football. It's like, okay, the media is telling me that Italian football is a farmers league, but the reality is that Italian football is for fucking men, and there's a lot of tactical things that I got to figure out that I've never had to do nowhere else. Playing against some really teams that close down the spaces, teams that slow you down, teams that are very good at manipulating the way you play. In my opinion, Kamada is going to struggle, especially his first season. But I might be wrong about this. I'm not 100% sure. It's just my quick opinion. What do you think? Do you think he is going to he's going to adapt fast, or is he going to have an immediate impact on the team? Is he going to be a top G right away? Yes or no? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that he's 26, so he's pretty much in his prime. Entering the primes, just got it started. And I would say that for us in Europe, he should be making a big impact already, because it's time for him to make that next step up to a Champions League club. Because he was in the Champions League this year, but he won the Europa League with Frankfurt. And I think it's time for him to start performing in the top competitions. So I think in Europe, yes, he should be making an impact, because he's already old enough. In the league, yeah, I can see him struggling against teams that park the bus, close down, make it hard to score. But at the end of the day, you still end up playing a lot of attacking teams. Like, I think the Serie A is becoming a much better league in terms of entertainment as well. Like, I'd say like the top 9 or 10 teams, at least, like the top half teams, basically all of them, like, they play somewhat open. They like I was just looking at the table, which I'm very impressed with. The depth of teams in the league this year. Now you have teams like Monza. You always have teams like Sassuolo, Fiorentina floating around, Torino. They will let you play for the most part. I mean, maybe they'll occasionally park the bus. So he's still going to be, I'd say, pretty effective. I think the biggest thing for what he can do is sometimes when we counterattack, we can kind of see that like we make some bad passes, or we kind of mess up the linking up the play and building up sometimes. And when we have space, he's very good at that. So I am optimistic. I think that he shouldn't be like like a process player. I would say that he should be. I don't want to like predict goals, because we've seen how that goes on this channel. But I don't know. I think he should have a decent contribution with assists and goals.
Yeah, listen. When it comes to goals coming from the German league, what you have to do is whatever he did in the German league, divide that by 2, then put a minus 2 on the goals and the assists.
Well, listen, I agree. Like, maybe that's like that's like an exaggeration. But for me, what makes me confident is in Europe, he has really good goals as well. So at least that's something positive.
Yeah, listen, speaking about Europe, there were some highlights that I even saw the other time where he was performing his highlights against Napoli. First of all, let me say hi to Jamaria. It's been Jamario. It's been a while, my man. How you doing, Jamario? He has a very awesome Twitter account, always following Milan. And Jamario is always at the stadium, guys. Always at the stadium. You should join us on the channel again, Jamario. Looking forward to see you again. Thanks for being here. So one thing about the Kamada highlights against Napoli, and because a lot of people are saying, he's performing well against in Europe, which he was. I mean, look, he was a Europa League champion. I mean, that's a fact. But I remember watching that Napoli. I remember watching both the Napoli games, and in the highlights of his personal, just the Kamada highlights, yeah, he looks really good. But I remember watching that game, and the difference between Napoli and Frankfurt was immense. Like you didn't notice Kamada in that game. He was inexistent. But if you watch the highlights, it looks like he was the best midfielder in the game. But if you actually watch the game, the story was completely different. Yeah. So these are things to consider. They're just things to consider.
And listen, I don't want to be like one of those English fans and that puts down other leagues or anything. But the German league is very different, like you said. It's like I think that a lot of times I know that they were able to win the Europa League, but I don't really think besides Bayern Munich, Dortmund sometimes, that there's any teams that can compete on the Champions League stage. And Napoli this year were just they had so much quality, and so I mean they were probably I think they outclassed Frankfurt completely over both both legs. So I think overall, as like from the team and from a tactical perspective, they were just getting dominated at times. And so I don't want to like blame Kamada or anything. So I mean, yes, it was tough for him. Same thing goes with Ndika, who's looks to be a good individual player for Frankfurt, but they also concede a lot of goals. So I don't know how much of that is to blame for him or the tactics. I don't watch Frankfurt close enough or the Bundesliga close enough to really analyze that. So, but yeah, you're right. Those can be concerns, I would say. But for me, it seems like it's more of like a tactical thing. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Anyway, listen, Kamada is joining Milan. And what I'm going to do, guys, as we get into the next reports, I want to just address the poll. So Milan season rating, let's close this poll. And the majority of you voted between 7 and 8 out of 10. So I'm actually glad to see that the majority of the people that voted are fairly happy with the season, especially because we live in the WhatsApp reality chat where everybody is extremely negative. Everybody is it almost seems like we are the worst team in the world sometimes in the WhatsApp chat. But I'm glad to see that the viewers here are actually quite satisfied with the season. It was a satisfying season. It wasn't the season we wanted. We wanted to defend the title. We wanted that second star. I wanted that. You wanted that. We all wanted that. But also sometimes we have to contend with the reality. Reality is we didn't have a roster to do all those things, but in all our difficulties and our limitations, we got to the semifinals of the Champions League and we finished in the top four, regardless of what anybody says. Okay, so any Antonio, give us any other links that you want to talk about next, and then we'll focus on that player. In the meantime, I'm going to put a new poll in the chat. I want to know what you guys in the chat think of Kamada as a player. So that's the next one. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a lot to cover. I would say there's always the same names. In the midfield, I would say that I did see something about like Openda today, and I would agree with you that he looks to be like, for me, probably the most interesting striker target that we're looking at right now. That's like realistic. So we can talk about him if you want.
Yes, let's talk about Openda. Yeah.
So guys, Openda is before I guess let me find the exact news. It's just like some early links. It's nothing like super formal because I think we're looking around, and if I was to predict, I would say that the striker position is really, really realistic, guys. So this year, because if we get Kamada, which we've gotten on a free, we maybe look at some other attacking players, maybe a winger, maybe a cam, like if there's another opportunity. But the rest of the budget will primarily go into maybe two central midfielders and the striker position. So Openda is one of these names, guys, and his stats are very promising and his growth is promising. So Openda this season played for Lens in Ligue 1. They finished second. And so they're going to be in the Champions League next year. He basically, I think he has 20 goals in the league this year. And he's 23 years old, which are very good numbers. And last year, when he was in the Netherlands, he scored 24 goals in the league, I believe, in the Netherlands.
Which team do you know?
Let me pull it up, his transfer history. But I believe it wasn't Ajax or anything like that. It was probably.
Okay, these are really good numbers. So this year he finished second in the Ligue 1. We know that PSG was struggling, so his team and his goals, his contribution to Lens, pushed the PSG to the limits. He had really good numbers in Ligue 1, and the year before he had very good numbers in Holland. These are good indications that we might have a prolific forward here. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up his transfer history right now. He's Belgian. It was
Vitesse. It was Vitesse.
Oh, is that okay? Yeah. Yeah. So he's Belgian, by the way. And he can play. The main thing from what I've noticed from him is his pace, and his transition ability. He plays center forward, and he can also play on either side of the wing sometimes as well. He's kind of like not really a tall player, but very mobile striker. His transfer value has shot up, and I believe he's valued at around at least 20 million, but that could be an underestimate. So, but it is doable for us at the end of the day. Like it is a reasonable transfer fee. I'm guessing like it's not extremely expensive because at this point maybe he's 23 and he's done it in a top 5 league for the first time. Maybe his goals are just his positioning, or he hasn't really proven to be like a world-class player yet, but he has the potential, and the numbers are the most important thing because we need someone that can actually contribute. Besides Giroud, because Giroud had a good year, but we're kind of stretched thin there. So for me, it makes complete sense. The links that I saw today were that basically he's on our list, and it was from a reliable source that he is basically on our short list of striker options. Um, like it wasn't saying that we've made official like a bid or anything like that. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna like get ahead of myself. But he is someone who's on our short list with like other players. Skamaka, I think, also was on our short list. However, I heard that Skamaka would really want to go to Juventus. That's I think Longo reported that. So he's looking like a less realistic option. He's also going to be pretty expensive from West Ham or on loan or something. So it would be a bit more difficult to complete that deal. Um, so yeah, but Openda for me looks to be like a really good option. I think you also like him as well, Roy, right?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't get Openda as a center. My thing about Openda is that I wouldn't get him as a center forward. Also because of the way Pioli, by the way, that's another thing that we should talk about. Looks like he is going to keep on being the coach of AC Milan. The way Pioli implements his system, the center forward has a very unique identity kit. It is the classic center forward. So Openda is not a classic center forward. Openda is more like a sec. In Italy, he'd be considered more as a second striker than a first striker. So I would get Openda to replace him with Rebic, and not necessarily as a center forward. So this is just my opinion. So if we were to get Scamacca, I would still try and get Openda, even though Scamacca, if we get him, it would be on loan, not something that you have to pay right away. So for me, Openda is a player that you can use on the wings. His football is very good for wing play. One thing that I had analyzed, and I had opined on, is that I don't see him being very successful against low blocks, because his biggest weapon is his speed, is his explosiveness, and that those qualities against low blocks is meaningless. It doesn't do anything against low blocks. You need talent. It's all about IQ, talent, and technique, and all of that stuff when it comes to the individual player. So yeah, I would love Openda actually, but I would get him as a Rebic replacement or Origi replacement.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with, I haven't watched him too much. I kind of want to watch more of Lons this season. I've been so busy. I haven't been keeping up too much with Ligue 1 like I usually do. But yeah, he looks to be like, for me, I just want another option. I know Pioli likes his tall strikers. For me though, like I would just hope that we need to get some versatility. Rebic, like playing striker, maybe could be versatile, but he hasn't performed at all. Like it would be nice to have some pace to go in behind sometimes and to have that option. So for me, I want a player of this profile maybe to contribute or to complement Giroud or someone else. Yeah, I also So I'm pulled up his stats. This year he had 20 goals and 3 assists. Last year he had 24 goals and 6 assists. In 18 of those goals were in the Eredivisie. Um, the fact that he's done it, he's had prominent numbers in back-to-back seasons in respected leagues, I would say, pretty strong leagues. That gives me, and also different leagues tactically. That makes me pretty optimistic for his ability. I mean, he's able to score goals, so his positioning must be solid, and he must, I'm surprised actually that Lons was able to. I wonder maybe his contract was expiring. I don't know how they were able to get him if he scored that many goals, and I don't know how I didn't really hear about him too much. But yeah, it's a very, very good piece of business by Lons, and yeah, they're going to be in the Champions League. So they also have Fofana, the midfielder, who's somewhat a target as well. But yes, they definitely have a really, really promising team, and we don't know if he can adapt to. I mean, he's never played in Europe. I don't, believe he's never really
Well,
played.
if he was in Vitesse last year, I did see Vitesse play against Roma in the Conference League, and Roma dominated Vitesse. Roma dominated Vitesse. So I don't know if Openda played in the Conference League,
Okay.
but Roma just killed Vitesse in that game. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I wasn't. I was when I said that I was like, oh, maybe they were in the conference. Yeah, I guess I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, he's never played at a super high European level. Maybe Roma was that was a really tough match, like you said. He hasn't really proved that yet, I would say. But and Italy is a very tough league. It's tough to score. Um, but I am optimistic about the player, and I hope we have to try something. You know, De Ketelaere didn't really work out the first year. We got a forward player, but you know, you have to kind of try with these young players. You never know how it'll work out. You know, but he does have really promising
Yo,
stats.
this has to be something going. It's the universe is weird. You say De Ketelaere, the moment you say De Ketelaere, look who appears on the chat. It is so crazy how the universe works. It is so fun. We have not named this guy's name for now. It's been 52 minutes. We have not named his. We name his name right now, and in that moment, Hans, the scout Erdmann, appears, telling us that Kamada is a 10 out of 10 signing overall. The
That makes
universe
me
is a
concerned.
strange place.
Him saying that makes me concerned about Kamada.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of a dig to Hans, but okay, yeah. So listen, Openda. So we'll see what happens with Openda. I do think this is a positive name that we're linked with. Let's move on. The next one I want to talk about is Frattesi, because Ambrosini had some interesting words about Frattesi. But before getting into that, let's go to chat a little bit, because the chat seems to mention the name of this player quite a lot. Mikautadze, the Georgian player that plays in Metz, second division in France. So before getting into Frattesi next, this is what some of the people in chat D5 says. I want players with flair. Mikatadze, Mikatadze, Gift, Orban, event time strikers, not just speed merchants like Openda, and we aren't really lucky with budgets last couple of years either. And then also we had, I think, Gavin saying that he likes Georgia's Mikatadze. Ronaldinho says Mikatadze. So a lot of a lot of people saying that they like this player. My only concern about players like this is that the difference between playing in League Two or Serie B and then jumping to Serie A, where you're challenging for either top four or the Scudetto, and you're trying to win the Champions League, the jump is so extreme that out of 1,000 players, there's barely anyone that can make that jump. This is if we do get a player like Mikatadze, the amount of time for a player like that to get acclimated to the intensity of that kind of play. I mean, imagine you're playing in you're doing well in the second division of Metz. All of a sudden now you have to go there and play against Osimhen, Vicha Varaskilia. You got to play against Dybala. You got to play against Chiesa. You got to play against Lautaro Martinez, Barella. The jump is so extreme that I think we need to be cautious when we talk about players that come from the second division. When you talk about players that come from the second division, you have to keep in mind, if you buy them, these players are going to be players that are going to be most likely sitting on the bench for a while. Maybe you send them out on loan to get experience and then bring them back next year. It doesn't happen right away, because then anybody can because that means we could get anybody from the second division, put him in Milan, and he would be successful. It just doesn't work like that. So yes, Mikatadze definitely has qualities. He definitely has qualities without a doubt. But let's be cautious on how we perceive these players coming from second division football. We definitely have to be cautious on that. And of course, Paul, the anti-Italian, of course, has to say this. You say about Mika, but not Casadei, who plays in the EPL equivalent of Serie B Championship, double standards, left and right. Shame on you, Roy. First of all, I never said that if we get Casadei would come to Milan and kill it right away. But obviously, because Paul has filters in his ear and he only wants to hear what he wants to hear, I have said that if you get Casadei, it's a good investment for the future. Also, because Casadei is not 23 like Mikatadze, which Mikatadze is still young. Casadei is 19. So he's one of the champions of the future, and he's showing that in the World Cup U20. He's got 4 goals, killer player. Because there's a player that you get in, you put him out on loan, you make him play Serie B, then you bring him back, you play him maybe with another season with Lecce, with Sassuolo, and then eventually you bring him back to Milan. So I've never said that if we bring Casadei would become a top player for Milan right away. Italy squad is not out. Italy, they finished second in the group, so they're not out. They finished second, and they're playing England on Wednesday. Chalk came from second division. That is true. Chalk came from second division, and he's having a very good season. That is an example of a player that did a good jump. But when it comes to the strikers, how many players can you think of in these past 40 years? Not just Milan, in any team, they go and buy a player from the second division, that player becomes a staple of the team right away. Think about it.
For me, like it's very rare that happens to like a top club. Like I've seen examples where like mid-table teams in Italy, for example, will sign a Serie B player, and that guy turns out to be like a good scorer for them. But the expectations at a top club that's playing in the Champions League, that's very, very, very rare. Like I don't think it's, like really possible very often. His stats are, I think he has 24 goals, 9 assists this season. And I looked up his stats. The previous season, he had, I think, 14 goals and 2 assists. Yeah, and he's just with.
Yeah.
So he's got good stats, but
when we bought Lapadula from Serie B, Lapadula that year had 30 goals in Serie B. He came to Milan, and the rest is history. Like we have an example of a player that we got from Serie B. We tried to make him, the marquee signing. It didn't work. So Juventus is not going to get Mikataudze. They're not going to get Mikataudze. Now, listen, I don't know what Mikataudze's future is going to be. Maybe eventually he's going to become a player that is a staple in big level European football. It's just not going to be gradual. I mean, it's going to be gradual. It's not going to be immediate. It is not going to be immediate. And if it is immediate, then you can come back to me and tell me that I was wrong. Roy, but he's Georgian. Let's hope he turns out like Vicha. No, the difference between Mikataudze and Vicha is that Vicha, right away, you can see that this guy has incredible talent, out of 1 in a million kind of talent. There are some players that are just diamonds. They're not diamonds in the rough. They're just diamonds. They're born. God, the universe, whatever you believe in, gifted them with incredible talent, out of this world talent. Vicha is one of these players, and then also Vicha is also a great professional. And Vicha was killing it in first division football in Russia or wherever he was playing. So it's not like he was playing second division football. And if you think that second division football in France is equivalent to first division football in Russia, you're wrong. But anyway, we shall see. Time will tell. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm right. Maybe you're wrong. It is all to be said. It is all to be seen. It is all to be seen. Okay. So let's keep on going with the reports. Let's talk about Frattesi. So Frattesi is a very interesting player. One thing that I think distinguishes Frattesi from his compatriot Berardi is that Frattesi is a player that I've been following ever since he came out in the scene. And every year, he always hints that he wants to go and play for, the bigger teams. He wants to fight for Europe. So he has the mentality. He wants to put himself at the test. He wants to challenge himself. He's a player that is being linked to many of the big teams. Sassuolo CEO, and this is something that even the coach said, is saying that the player has many, many suitors. There are many people that want to buy him. I haven't seen any prices yet Okay, so let's see what he says. The CEO. I have to advertise and promote him in the best way. He's one of the most promising players. I'm not hiding the inquiries. We'll evaluate. The transfer market lasts 365 days a year, but we're not in the hot moment yet. Milan are working on etc. etc. Also, the coach Dionisi in these past days had an interview saying that most likely Frattesi this time is going to be sold, because he was talking about Sassuolo, the way Sassuolo works, and how their best players usually end up being sold, and Frattesi was one of these players. So now, going back to Frattesi, one of AC Milan legends, a player that before he became a championship, people like Paul would have never wanted him to see at Milan. But Ambrosini, this is what Ambrosini says about Frattesi. Let's see. Milan are expected to reinforce the midfield this summer, and quite a few names have been linked with the club. Massimo Ambrosini, the former Rossoneri captain, has advised them to sign Davide Frattesi. Milan have secured Champions League football for next season and will now shift focus to the summer mercato. The defense is expected to remain more or less the same, but the Rossoneri intend to reinforce the midfield and the attack. Speaking to DAZN, after last night 1-0 win against Juventus, the former Milan captain Massimo Ambrosini shared his thoughts on the upcoming mercato. He advised the club to sign Sassuolo star Davide Frattesi. Milan need reinforcements in all departments apart from the goalkeeper. I have a wow. Look at what Ambrosini says. He says that we need reinforcements in all departments. I have a soft spot for Frattesi. He's Italian strong and he scores goals. At Milan, the midfielders don't score enough. The midfield players of the top teams will score more goals than those of Milan, he said, as cited by Milan News. Now, Frattesi has scored 7 goals this season so far.
Hey, Roy.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to comment on that point that Ambrosini just made, which I agree with, saying that we need reinforcements in all positions. Like, if you just think about it for a second, right? Okay, striker, we all know. We have Giroud, and that's it. We need a backup. We need someone else. Left wing, Leao, and that's it. Cam, trequartista. We have Diaz. He may be leaving. De Ketelaere, who is, let's not talk about him again. And whoever else can play there. It'd be Adli, but he'll probably leave. Right wing, we know we don't have a real starter there. Defensive midfielder besides Tonali, Benacer is injured. We have big problems there. Krunic maybe. And then left back, Balotore, which we know he's not a solid player. Right back, Calabria. Yeah, maybe we have some. Or I think besides maybe Chiara, who's leaving, the rest of the defense is pretty solid, I would say. But there's so many issues that we have to fix.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah, no, 100%. We have a really good core. There's no doubt about our core, but we need to. Every position needs to be addressed. I totally agree. Now going back to Frattesi, this is a player that I've seen perform very, very. I mean, I've always had positive things to say about him. Also, I remember him playing against Germany. I think it was in the Nations Cup, and he bossed the midfield. He was playing around the German midfield like they didn't exist. So there was that was one of the positive moments that I remember about Frattesi. And he's only 23. He does score goals. He's a player that has played most of his career so far in a 4-2-3-1 system as a double pivot. So it's almost perfect for Milan because it's not someone that has to adapt to a new system. Yeah, he is used to being a player that covers a lot of space. The issue always comes down to the price. Sassuolo is an expensive supermarket, so it'll come down to that. But I do think that Frattesi, for example, would be a player that can help, would actually raise the level of the midfield, and would be a player that can add something to the club. So I would be all for the Frattesi investment. Of course, the price has to be right. So let's say if we end up getting Kamada, SMS, and Frattesi, for me, that is a not 10 out of 10 midfield market. For me, that is a 20 out of 10 midfield market. That is my opinion. Everybody's going to call me pro-Italian, but it's all bullshit. So what do you think about Frattesi?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good player. I don't See, this system and Pioli kind of confuse me sometimes. I don't really know what he's looking for because on the one hand, he wants like defensive midfielders, names like Loftus-Cheek are coming up. I was looking more into how he plays. It seems to be Loftus-Cheek is like a player who is just super defensive. He can tackle, but he doesn't really have much in terms of quality and passing and going forward. So Frattesi is completely different. And they both can play in the pivot. So I don't know what ideally Pioli's looking for. I don't even know at this point if Pioli has any say in who we sign because it seems like he has this little system and that all these players that come in, he never gets any of his top players. So I feel like he has barely any, leverage in these sort of decisions. So I don't know. Like, are the management like sure that whoever they find in the midfield is going to fit tactically with what Pioli wants to do? That's what matters. I mean, Pioli also is just maybe he should try to be more flexible in some areas because I would like to see more creativity from the pivots. So Frattesi for me would be a decent signing. You know, I would. There's other midfielders too that I would like as well, but I wouldn't be. I'd be fine with getting Frattesi because we need depth overall, and he does appear to have a bit more quality than some of the other players that we have in the squad. So, yeah, overall we need some creativity and quality from that position. So, it sounds like a good deal to me. I just hope that whoever we end up signing in the pivot can stay healthy and also can fit and actually blend well with our system because I don't know, Pioli has to figure things out. It's complicated.
Yeah, that's a good question. Whether or not Pioli has a say in the market, and I think he has been badly criticized about the market purely because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you ask Pioli, like let's turn the wheel back to a few years ago. If you ask Pioli, listen, who do you want? Chiesa, Berardi, Ziyech, Mahrez. Who do you want? He back in the day, we know he said Chiesa. Chiesa was the player that he wanted the most. But then they come up to you and say, okay, I know you like Chiesa, but I'm sorry, we're gonna give you Messias. And he says, okay, I'll take Messias. It's not like he has a choice. That's the issue with Milan and the issue with our budget. With the way the market is done. And I'm not digging on Messias. I think Messias has done a good job at Milan, but yeah, according to what we have seen in the past, the names that Pioli wants are names that are top Gs, right? He wanted Chiesa. He wants SMS. Pioli wants SMS. He coached SMS when he was at Lazio. But is the management going to give Pioli SMS? Pioli wants a lot of players, but at the end of the day, it seemed like because of this, our ownership, because of how things are, the management always has to go on the bottom of the list and then eventually give them the players of the bottom of the list. Probably Pioli, they give Pioli a list of 15 players, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He agrees on all of them. Of course, his favorite would be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, but he ends up getting number 15, number 14, number 13. So I think the thing about Pioli is a little bit harsh the way I've heard some people criticize Pioli and based on the players that we get. But yeah, so Hans Ersman asked, Loftus-Cheek is defensive. Yeah, Loftus-Cheek is pretty defensive according to his stats. He doesn't score goals at all. Like in the past 2 years, he hasn't
Yeah,
scored.
and if I don't know why he'd be questioning that because the guy is literally like a tall, strong, tackling defensive like midfielder. So that's kind of that is what his strength is, and I don't know why that's supposed to be shocking, but anyways, keep going.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely a defensive midfielder before anything else. I mean, that is not even a question. Interesting the scout questions that. Very interesting. Egan Adams asks, what do you guys think about Alexis McAllister? He looked good for Brighton this season. McAllister, this is how there's the meme that he laughs like that. He was great for Argentina. That's when I saw him, and he is a strong performer, great, Argentinian grit. Yeah, unfortunately, he's being linked to other top clubs in England, as far as I've seen. What about you? Any words on McAllister?
McAllister will be going to Liverpool most likely for a hefty transfer fee, and yeah, we can't compete with anything in the Premier League. We'd have to just get third, rotational players or players who are on the fringe of their teams in the Premier League, like Loftus-Cheek. We can't afford any starting Premier League players, unfortunately.
Yeah. What's up, Rock? How you doing, my man? Thanks for your content. Thank you for being here, Rock. Appreciate you. Okay, guys, listen, going back to the poll that we had earlier, we had the Kamada poll, and the results were this. 47% of the viewers say that Kamada is a B rating. So B, out of D, C, A, and B, or DCBNA, he is a B rating. So that would be like 7.5 out of 10, more or less, or 8 out of 10. So a lot of people, let's say, are happy. But some of you, nobody said D. So nobody said D. Oh, no, 2% said D, 23% said C, and 26% said A. But 47% said B. Okay, listen, we spoke about Frattesi. I don't know if we're going to talk about Loftus-Cheek. We've spoken about him so much these days. I want to talk about my favorite player. It's my birthday. I'm going to cry if I want to. Right, Antonio. All right.
Yeah. When's it not your birthday, Roy?
Right. Let's talk about Milinkovic-Savic. Wow. Now, this is the dream target. This is who I want to see. If we can get this guy in our midfield, mamma mia, that is going to be a statement, not only to us, the fans, but that is going to be a statement to the world of football. Okay, this article, I don't take too much stock in this article. Yes, some guy tweeted something about Milinkovic-Savic, and Leo liked it, whatever. But in this article, there is a very interesting thing that was being said. Milinkovic-Savic has scored 11 goals and assisted an additional 8 this season. Remember, for a midfielder, these incredible numbers. Last year, he finished with 11 goals and 11 assists. This guy, as a midfielder, has scored a triple the amount of goals that Origi has scored in his whole career, just to let you know. But anyway, check this out. His price tag this summer will be just 35 million, according to Sky Italia, due to the expiring contract. After Milan's 1-0 against Juventus, which secured Champions League qualification, Milinkovic-Savic liked 433's post on Instagram. A Milan fan posted this on Twitter, and Rafael liked that tweet. The social clues there are piling up. So Milinkovic-Savic liked a tweet where he's linked with Milan, etc., etc. We saw that with other players too. It didn't come to nothing in the end. So let's not put too much stock in that. But let's put stock in the fact that he only cost, if this is true, 35 million. Antonio, what the fuck are we waiting for? Please explain this to me.
I mean, I think everyone would agree that we should get him. Because, I mean, listen, he's one of those, he's a ready-made player. He's in his prime. He's Serie A proven. The only thing about him, once again, is that Lazio is terrible in Europe. He hasn't really done it in Europe yet, but whatever. Him already in the league, it'd be a huge, huge plus to have someone like that. It's one of those things where, for me, I mean, the only thing that I'm concerned about in terms of this not happening and, against all the rumors is Maldini said in that interview that that their whole project is centered around younger players. And that's why they got to Ketelaere and not Dybala last year. So I don't know if that's going to change because he's implying that they shouldn't even these players aren't that old, but they're already in their primes. And so that would make me concerned that we, don't actually want to get him. But of course I would want him, and I hope that we can get him. We can definitely afford him. For me, I think it's just about juggling the transfer budget, which we don't know actually what it is. There's new reports every day about the different amount of money that we have. If we have that money available, if we can get a striker and Milinkovic-Savic, I mean, and a midfielder, get another midfielder on a free or someone else, then it's possible. If not, then I don't think it's going to be a priority for us after signing Kamada. I don't know. I don't know where Kamada is even going to play. Is he going to be always a number 10? Is he going to be a deep line playmaker? It's just confusing. So it's hard to actually judge the current percentage of this actually happening. And like I said, Pioli, we don't, although he really loves him, we don't know how much power he has. So it's tough. I mean, I think all the fans would want him, and then it would help make us big contenders next season already for the title. The guy scores free kicks, headers. He's a good, really, really, complete attacking player too. So he's a great player. He's fantastic. We'd all agree. And yeah, I just don't know if we're gonna get that, like a player in his prime. He's 28. On the last year of his contract for 30 million. I don't know if that's like a Milan operation, but yeah.
Man, I think we'd be crazy not to do this. Also, we got to consider this fact. Benacer had a major injury this season. 6 months out. Remember, he's going to skip the whole summer preparation. He's going to come back into the league mid-season. This means that Benacer is not going to be 100% for the remainder of the second half of the season when he's back. And he also has the African Cup of Nations. I don't even know if he's going to be called up for that. But players that skip the summer preparations coming from injuries, these operations, almost never have those top level seasons. So we can already anticipate that we're not going to get Benacer for the first half of the season. We're not going to have Benacer in the squad for the summer preparations. And when he comes back, he's not going to be 100%. We need a top G to replace him. We need a top G to replace him. We can't just show up with Kamada and Loftus-Cheek. This is a downgrade. We are downgrading if that's what we're doing. Benacer is a top G, whether people like it or not. So we need to replace him with a top G. Maldini needs to make this happen. This is a suicide for us not to make this happen. When are we ever going to get the opportunity, if these reports are true, to buy a player like SMS for these kind of money? Remember, SMS, as a midfielder, every single year almost gets to, sometimes he does, 20 goal contribution as a midfielder. Not Giroud is a center forward in 2 years. He hasn't done that. I'm talking about goal contributions, not just goals. So this is how are we going to spend money on Loftus-Cheek when this guy provides nothing as far as goals? He does provide, obviously, other qualities. Don't spend the money on Loftus-Cheek. Spend the money on SMS. We have to get this player. We have to. Benacer, who's going to replace Benacer? You can't replace Benacer with anybody. Benacer is a player he's not just any player. So for me, this is a must-do operation if these reports are true. If we spent 35 on CDK and I hear the management spend, but I don't want to spend 35 on SMS because, he's 29 going to 30, then you know what? Jerry, fucking go buy Empoli, because you should not be the owner of AC Milan. Go buy Empoli, go buy Sassuolo, go buy these teams and do your games with those teams. And fuck it. Fuck it. Let's give Milan to anybody else. For me, it is a sin. It is a mortal sin for us not to go for SMS if these reports are true. He even liked to post saying that he likes the fact that he's being linked to AC Milan. I don't know what this means. I don't know. So these are my worries, Antonio. These are my worries.
Those are some fair worries.
Yeah.
Also, I just had another piece of news that just came out, by the way.
Right,
it's not that like super huge, but Marco Asensio is going to leave Real Madrid for sure. And he's apparently the top, teams that are looking at him are Milan, Arsenal, and PSG. So that's just what some people are saying right now. And so that looks like it could be an option.
Okay, so Marco Asensio, a player that we've been linked with a lot. I remember there was reports of Maldini going to Ibiza, wherever he usually goes, to try and convince Asensio and his entourage. The problem with Asensio always comes down to his salary demands, and I believe he's making 7 million last time we checked. And I think that is going to continue to be the main obstacle. That he is a player that, he's 27. 27. He's played in Real Madrid, so this guy has won more Champions Leagues than Origi scores goals. So we're talking about a player that is well versatile to top level football, well adapted to top level football, but it comes down to his wage demands. Therefore, this is me. I might be wrong about this. I don't really consider this link to be something that I think will come to anything. I think that Asensio is never going to wear the red and black colors of AC Milan because of his wage demands. I might be wrong about this. Who knows? I don't know. What do you feel about Asensio since you brought it up?
I mean, yeah, I'm not. I just wanted to point it out. I am not too into him, but I guess we do need a right winger, in my opinion. I'm still going to stand by that. I know we can disagree on that, but that's for me. So if we can get anyone on the right wing, someone new, he does have really good finishing. I know that. Then I wouldn't be opposed to it if it happened. But yeah, he does have high wage demands. But we'll see if other clubs match it or not. If he has no options, then it could become a possibility.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So, Asensio, another player that is being linked to Milan. Let's go to this one here, which is very interesting. Another player that recently came out on the news, and it is another one of Rock's favorites, a Belgian international. Man, we're going to get Openda, Tielemans, CDK, Origi. Let's fucking call the club AC Belgium at this point. But Tielemans looks like he is being linked with Milan, a player that has played most of his career this past years with Leicester, so in the mid-table regions of the Premier League, and now I believe Leicester
relegated.
got relegated. Yeah,
yeah.
So he is on a free. He's one of these players on a free. He is a Belgian international. I do want to say before we get into the Tielemans factor is that most of the times when I talk to people in this channel, when I talk about Insigne, everybody shits on Insigne. They say Insigne is the worst player that has ever existed. He sucks. Fuck Insigne. But Insigne fucking twisted the Tielemans out of existence in the European Championship. So just so you know that, Insigne made Tielemans look like a little kid. Just to put that out there. Anyway, Tielemans is an option for that midfield. I don't know what to think about Tielemans. I saw him with Belgium. I saw him with Leicester. I saw Tielemans play twice against Italy. Twice Tielemans got overrun by the Italian midfield. I saw him play against Napoli twice. I saw him get overrun by Napoli twice. I saw him play against Roma twice, and I saw him get overrun by Roma twice. So what do you want me to tell you about Tielemans? All the teams, when he plays against the Italian teams, everybody says Italian teams are shit. The Italian national team is shit. Every time I see him play against these teams that everybody calls shit, he gets beaten. What do you want me to say about Tielemans? I don't know how to evaluate this player. So you know what? You help me, Antonio. Help me in the chat. I don't know what to say about Tielemans. I do think he might be a decent signing. Let me put it that way, but I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure. I didn't know he was a free, but if he is a free, I think it's an interesting player. What do you have his age pulled up? I think he's like
he's mid-20s, like 26, 27, something like that, or 20. Yeah,
mid-20s. So he's entering his prime. Tielemans is a player who he's somewhat like a box-to-box player, but he is good in the attacking phase because he's got a very good shot in terms of his finish. I've seen him score a lot of long shot goals, and he does have some quality. The thing is, though, I think with him, his downside would be maybe his effectiveness of controlling the middle of the park. I don't think he's as good as a more, I guess, reserved midfielder who will stay back and keep possession. This guy's more of go up, quick attack, quick play. But he does have quality. I mean, from what I've seen in England, yes, he hasn't really shown it too much on the Belgium national team. Then again, many of those players haven't really stepped up in recent years. So I still think he's a good player. He's Premier League proven. I don't know if I don't know if he'll be Serie A proven if he does come.
but yeah, I think tactically it would be a new player that we don't have anyone like currently. So I don't know. I think it's not like I think Milan fans online would be happy with this because he's a player that when Leicester, in the past few years were in the Premier League and doing well, he's someone that like most people heard about as like a starting midfielder for them. So, because of all the media in England, they used to really like him too. But the thing is how much of that is hype versus how much of that is like actually him being an effective midfielder. So I don't know, and I don't want to like make any conclusions about him. We have to be cautious, you know.
Yeah. Annie Maniac says, we're not getting Tielemans. He's got a lot of suitors in England. He's a good set piece taker, but I highly doubt we'll be able to sign him. Daniele Mietitore says, Tielemans earns 10 million, so he's not an option. Now, I do believe 10 million is gross, not net. So, because I did see whoever biggest earners in England, net, not gross, net, and Tielemans was not in the top. The biggest earner net was De Bruyne, and net he's making 12 million net. Tielemans was not in the top, not even in the top 10. So I believe he is making around 5.5 or maybe even 6. So guys, if you want to check the net and gross salaries of players, capology.com is a good website to check that out, and you have everybody. I'm going to put that up on the stream right there. So if you ever want to go see what players make net and gross, you can check this. Oh, it didn't let me do it. Okay, so I guess if you're a moderator in the chat, you can put that capology.com for anybody that is interested. Okay, so listen, today was a heavy midfield day. We spoke about Kamada. He's coming to Milan. Looks like that's a done deal. We spoke about SMS, the dream of everybody. We spoke about Frattesi, a player that is very, very interesting, but very difficult to get. And we spoke about Tielemans. The last one to speak about is Loftus-Cheek. Also, Seko Fofana was being linked to Milan. Seko Fofana, we saw him being linked to Milan last season. A player that, when we analyzed him last season, Antonio, we came to the conclusion that he would have been a great replacement for Kessie, I remember. But let's just end the midfield debacle with Loftus, the man, the booty, the cheeks. Where are you with this signing? Where are you? How do you feel about this signing? Thank you, Hans. Really appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not too excited like most people, just because he's someone who doesn't really play much for Chelsea. Basically, Chelsea's in a very weird place. Like we all know, they had a really, really bad season. And they have a lot of players, and he's someone who isn't really favored by many of their fans. He's like a bench player. He did play for Graham, with Graham Potter. He played against us both games in the UCL, so he was getting minutes this year. But yeah, he wasn't like a standout player. He's I think 26, 27, I forget his age. Not super young, so he's basically entering his prime. And he's a good, he's very physical, but in terms of his on the ball ability and his passing, not too exciting for me. Like he's got pace, he's strong, he makes good slide tackles. But he's like, I mean, maybe I could see him being a backup for Tonali, but I don't want him to be a starter. And he may, if he's the player that we need to replace Benacer for, for how long he's out, that's not very good in my opinion. I wish we were getting someone a bit more technical with more quality, because we need quality in this team, and he doesn't really provide that in my opinion. I don't know why they like him. They kind of just sometimes they've recently gone after just some Premier League players out of interest, maybe because they're physical. It fits a profile of that defensive midfielder, but I don't know. For me, I wish we had looked for someone with a bit more technique. Maybe someone who can give long balls. Because we have Tonali. Tonali does a lot of that hard work. I want someone that could complement him with a bit more quality. And this guy doesn't really have that, in my opinion. So I'm not too excited, and also he's on a free transfer as well. So it would cost money, to bring him in. Why were we going through all this trouble, to do this? And I think he would be open to a Milan move. So at least, I guess, maybe they kind of established that they're going after him. I think the biggest reporters have like confirmed this, so he is by far the most likely midfielder at this point. But then again, things can change. I don't really want this to go through, but I guess I can hear your opinion on it. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, and listen, I've not hidden my discontent on us being linked to this player. Of course, nothing against the player himself. I just so many red flags. The fact that a 27-year-old has barely ever been called to the English national team. For me, that is one of the benchmarks to really individualize whether or not a player is a top player or not, is how many times he participates in the national team, especially when it comes to England. England being one of the most important national teams on the planet, as far as, because of the league they play in, and et cetera, et cetera. The fact that he has only 10 appearances in the National League worries me. It says a lot to me. The fact that SofaScore every year has given him very low ratings. Look at this. I mean, every game he gets very low ratings, 6.7, 6.6, 7, 6.7. His overall rating, take it, I mean, however you want. Maybe these SofaScore ratings are wrong or not. I don't know. But 6.73 this year. Now, if you look at his stats, yeah, he started 19, played 25 minutes per game, 62. He did have a little bit more presence in the league, not that much though. Definitely not a starter, but as a second line or third line. That those look like numbers of a second line more so than a third line. 0 goals, 1 assist. Same thing in the Champions League, 0 goals, 1 assist. So forget about this guy providing any offensive output. This guy is specifically solely a midfielder. Now, there are some stats that are pretty good. So accuracy per game, 89%. That is a pretty good stat. That means that this is a player that does not lose the ball that much. Opposition half, 86% in the opposition half. That is a very good stat. And, I'm going to give their players their credit when credit is due. 64% long balls, etc. Accurate crosses, of course, no, only 11%. He's not a player that is going to provide any kind of offensive plays. But, when it comes to the midfield play, he does look like a player that is not going to lose the ball. He is a player that is going to make the right decisions. He's going to make the right passes. Successful dribbles, 58. Total duels won, 55%. Ground duels won, 58%, 46%. So this guy is basically a defensive midfielder. Plays mostly on the right. I don't understand. If we look at Benacer's, let's look at Benacer's heat map. I think they play completely different. Benacer covers the whole midfield, while Ruben Loftus-Cheek only covers the right side. You see, that's the difference right there. That's the difference. Benacer with 2 goals. Benacer, 89% accuracy, own half 93, opposition half 80%. 2 assists, 2 goals from Benacer. So they do play different roles. I don't know how that's going to translate. I'm not sure how that is going to translate. But again, for me, the biggest red flag is the fact that he never gets called up for the English national team. To me, that I don't know what that means, but it has to mean something. Does that tell you anything? Does that give you any information about him?
Yeah, I mean, it just means that he's not one of the best English players. Like, he's just a kind of like, I don't want to I don't want to call him mediocre right now, but he plays for Chelsea, but he's just kind of been one of those names in England for a while that's not really doesn't really do anything in terms of a super meaningful impact. Like I said, definitely doesn't have super high quality. He is physical, but and I also used to have some injuries. I think he's been maybe clear for a bit, but he had whatever happened. He hasn't had the best career, and he's kind of just been like a bench player for Chelsea for a long time. So he's not really like this is just like a very non-big club signing in my opinion. So it doesn't really fit.
Yes, I agree with that.
At least go for a big play. Go for a young player. You know what I'm saying? It's better than this in my opinion. I mean, yes, we need some ready-made players, and this kind of reminds me of Origi in a sense because like we played against Liverpool in the UCL. We played against Origi. He looked good against us. He scored and he was moving around really well. And we signed him. This year we played against Chelsea for 2 games and he played both games. And now we're looking like we're going to sign this guy. I mean, that's not enough. Like, I don't know why. We play somebody and we look at them for. I mean, I'm not saying that's the only reason why we're signing these players, but it is a pattern I've noticed with the management. Like, you can't just judge them based off of these games. I think the same thing happened with Hauge too. And Hauge I still stand by my thing that when he was with Milan, Hauge wasn't that bad, and he was actually. I like that he scored goals, but my point is that we signed him after we played against him, and it's not that simple. You have to look in. I'm sure they know this, but for me, there's no super positive signs about this player. I don't know why we're after him. I guess the scouting maybe found that he's a good match for what we want to do, but I think it's a mistake overall.
Yeah, listen, and I think you said it perfectly. This is not a big team sign, a big, what did you say? A big team signing, yeah.
Yeah, big club, big team.
A big club signing, yeah. Now, listen, we could be completely wrong. This guy comes to Italy and he ends up being the best midfielder that the world has ever seen. That could happen. There is a slight chance that could happen. But let's be realistic. Let's look at one difference here. Now, this is one of the things that I wanted to. I don't have this information. Maybe you do, Antonio. Maybe someone in chat has. Maybe Hans does. I don't know. Someone may have it. But let's say, okay, for example, Kamada was being linked to Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. These are big clubs. Okay, Atletico Madrid is one of the big clubs of Europe. Whether we want, it's one of the best clubs in Spain. Borussia Dortmund is the second biggest club in Germany. So you can at least connect those dots. Okay, some big clubs are after this player. Kamada is who do we know who is interested? Who else is interested in Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Like, do we know? Do you know? Does anybody know in chat?
I wouldn't. I mean, it hasn't been made super public compared to what I saw from Kamada. So that kind of tells me that it's probably the only teams that are probably interested are some other English teams that are maybe mid-table or something like that. I wouldn't say he's attracted any sort of attention from a top European club, or else I would have seen something by now, I feel like. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, the last thing I read about him is that he said goodbye to the stadium, and then the article was connecting him to Milan. I didn't see any other clubs that are looking to get him. And yeah, most articles are saying that he wants to join Milan, but he is looking to join Milan. So he wants Milan, and Milan wants him. But I've not seen any other clubs being linked to him. Like for De Ketelaere, we know that we were fighting against, who was it, Leeds and someone else, but it was like lower English teams that were fighting for De Ketelaere. At least with Kamada, we had to fight to get Kamada with big teams. So there is something there that needs to be said about that. So yeah, if anybody knows, if this information is out there, please let us know. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, good point.
Didn't both PL teams that wanted CDK got relegated? Well, Leeds did. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, Leicester City and Leeds.
Oh, Leicester, Leeds. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Leicester City and Leeds. Okay. So I know
their season, huh?
Yeah, he would have saved them for sure. Okay, so this is Chunk's opinion on RLC. Roy, I've come to the conclusion that RLC is supposed to be the alternative to Renato Sanchez. They play in the same zone. Both are press resistant, strong, have great drive when carrying the ball. Okay, so Chunk is very positive about this player. Good work rate, and both have never been goal scorers. Interesting. Interesting. Another interesting comment from Chunk before we move on with other reports. Slimzinho, I agree, but our scouts already seem good to me. How many times have we been linked with cheap talents like Caicedo, Manu Kone, Enzo Fernandez, Alvarez, Rosario Moani, Olmo, Adli, Vara, Simakan? Yeah, except we end up getting Origi. That's the problem. God, I hope Origi doesn't listen to our streams.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, I really hope he doesn't listen to our streams. Origi, if you do listen to these streams, bro, I'm sorry, dude. I respect you as a human being, man. My bad. Okay, listen. I think as regarding the midfield, we covered everybody. Like heavy. We're starting the Mercato with a lot of midfield talk. Is there anybody we're missing in the midfield? I think we covered everyone, right? Yeah, we covered it. We covered everyone. So, what is left to talk about? I guess the strikers. This article here is new, so I guess this is a new link. Let's see what this says. One of AC Milan's priorities this summer is to sign a striker, and several players have been linked with the club. Latest name is Nicholas Jackson, and the RossonARI have already had a first meeting. Luis Openda of Lens has been described as the number one choice for Milan this summer, but given the high demands involved, the RossonARI also monitoring alternatives. According to Anto Vitiello, Nicholas Jackson is one of them. Paolo Maldini and Enrique Massara are keeping their eyes on 21-year-old who has 11 league goals this season, and a meeting was also held recently. Jackson has suitors in the Premier League as well, so it won't be easy. Oliver Giroud was a big hero of the game. Okay. Do you know this player? This is the first time I ever hear about this guy.
I've heard about him. I believe he has solid stats. I'm going to pull up his exact stats. And also, some people were talking about him, by the way, in the RossonARI community.
Yeah.
And yeah, but once again, I don't watch too much La Liga. But Villarreal, I think, didn't have an amazing year. Okay, so basically, he is from Senegal, 21 years old. And let's see his goals and assists this season. Oh, by the way, yeah, so he had a total this season of 20. Wait, is this correct? For some reason, this one is saying 24 goals.
Damn.
10 assists, but it's only showing 11 in La Liga, 1 in the Conference League. So where are the other ones coming from? None in the Copa del Rey and none of the qualifiers. Maybe he had goals coming before. Oh, I think okay. Maybe because he was transferred this season. But basically, I think when he came in this season, he had an immediate impact for Villarreal. Keep in mind that Villarreal is also a club that Dia was at, and Dia didn't really have too much of an impact there. He's worth 15 to 20 million euros. And yeah, let me see. I think this other competition shows. Okay, just in Spain, he has 11 goals, 4 assists. 12 goals and 4 assists in all competitions. 12 goals and 5 assists in all competitions. And that is just from Villarreal. But then it says that before he came, he got another 10, 12 goals and 5 assists as well, coming, whatever club he was at before. So he has had a really, really strong year.
Okay, so listen, this is his highlights from Brazil Scout. First time I see him, we can do a quick analysis.
He's also a bit taller and a bit younger than Openda.
What's his height? Did he just fall? Did he fall? What the fuck was that? Hold on. Why did he fall making this pass? Okay.
Technique.
Right. This has to be like a B team, a Villarreal B.
Yeah, yeah. This is. I think he was promoted to the senior team this season.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I don't. So far, I'm not liking this at all. Technically, very poor.
He looks to be very raw and not really like nowhere near ready, but he has potential.
I mean, listen, if he had, if this is debut season with 11 goals, and I mean, Spain is Spain. We're still high level football. I know it's a very open league, and they like to play offensive football there. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. What the fuck is this?
You get some interesting ads.
I don't know. This looks like a Sunday league player you play with at the park. I don't know. Maybe I might be coming to. I might be coming to. I don't know, dude. Like what I'm seeing here is like I would rather get the Georgian player than this guy. Let me put that way. I don't know what I mean. I don't know, dude. Am I going crazy or something? Like football players don't look good to me anymore. Like what the fuck is going on?
I mean, let's just say that our standards are lower. And no, he's just young. I mean, he needs a lot of developing.
Yeah, I think we might as well keep Origi if we're going to be linked with this player.
Yeah, this guy is going to take a lot of time. Like he's not someone that we can just get in, and he would make no impact his first year with us.
I don't think so either. Now, again, these are opinions. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
we can all be completely wrong about this. Let's sign Jackson Martinez. Who's that? Great signing if we were a Sunday league team. Balogun is good. Now, Balogun, I like Balogun. I like Balogun. Balogun has good qualities. Balogun is someone that I think we should be looking at, and I think Balogun would be a concrete something that would have an impact in the team. I believe that. This player here, to me, seems like just I don't know. Like these are. It's becoming so difficult to really understand what you're looking at sometimes because I swear to you, like I'm getting Sunday league vibes from this dude. Like, I go with the park friends on Sundays, and these are this is the level. It's players that play like this. But of course, that's not the reality. The reality is that this guy plays top division in Spain. He's obviously has qualities. Obviously, physically, he has to be very good. Great stamina. Just his football seems really low level to me. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I need to take a break from football, bro. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I need to take a break from watching football because I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Has this video just shocked you completely?
Yes. Yeah. I think this video has made me want to take a break from watching football for a while because I don't know what I'm looking at anymore. Like like Milan went to talk about this guy? Like to do what? I don't know, guys. I think I'm going to
I
take a
mean,
break
maybe
from
for the
football.
Primavera. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, can someone tell me here what are they looking? Yeah, we spoke about Tielemans. We did. We did. Because I know if Paul was watching this, Paul would say, "Oh my God, this guy's the best thing since fucking Pelé." You know, Paul would be saying that this guy's the new Pelé. But I'm looking at this guy, and to me, like his level is so low. Like
25 goals.
ban Alexander from he's a terrorist. Let's try Lukaku. Lukaku's in hot form right now. Lukaku's in hot form. Yeah, guys, listen. I honestly, I'm shocked. I'm shocked at what I'm looking at. I mean, listen. If I was, I'll be 100% honest with you. If I was Lecce and we were linked to this guy, I'd be like ecstatic. I'd be ecstatic. Let's talk about Lecce actually a little bit since I brought that up. But if I was Empoli, Lecce, Cremonese, I'd be ecstatic. Oh my God, we're getting this guy. Hell yeah, this is going to be a great season. We're going to finish 6th, 17th, you know. But for me,
Royce, you're like
what the
roasting
hell?
everyone.
For Milan, I just want I'm I just want us to go to the next level, my man. Maybe I have to be a little bit more patient. Speaking of Lecce, okay, we can stop this. We can move on from this. Again, guys, this guy might be the next freaking Pele, and I'm completely wrong about this. I don't know, but it is what it is. Okay, some new articles. We're going to those articles. Speaking about Lecce, then I want to talk about the budget, Antonio. So Lecce secured themselves another season in the Serie A with a goal from our own Colombo. Colombo scored a penalty, high pressure penalty, the 101th minute of the game. So 11 minutes of injury time. Colombo was assigned the penalty. It's pretty strange that they gave it to Colombo, so that means that they literally put the Lecce's season on the shoulders of Colombo, which says a lot about the player, right? He scores a goal, huge celebrations. Instagram, Serie A Instagram put the video out of that moment. Great moment for Colombo in his career and his growth. That is something that Colombo will have in him for the rest of his life. For them, that moment was like for us winning the Scudetto. So, what do you think about that? About Colombo and the team giving him such a huge responsibility, being one of the youngest attacker they have.
I heard that the players decided who was going to take the penalty themselves on the field, and I think that means that he stepped up and was willing to do it. Yeah, I'm happy for him. I don't. I think overall, though, this season he was on the bench a lot, so I don't think he's ready for Milan yet. Still, I'd still send him out on loan, but it shows that he's always looked to be a fighter, have good mentality. I hope that one of either him or Daniel Maldini can eventually step up, but it's hard to play for us. I mean, we have just completely different expectations, so I don't know if that's good. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still not really optimistic that those players will be ready, but I'm happy for them, and I hope that that he can still make impacts in Serie A if he doesn't play with us next year. But yeah, I meant from a mental perspective, it looks to be like a serious striker. I just hope he can be more prolific. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, from a psychological perspective, like putting all that pressure on his shoulders, he basically, that is the defining moment of the season. The most important moment of the season of that team was given to Colombo, and he delivered. I mean, it was a penalty. It was a penalty, but we've seen Ibrahimovic miss penalties where the pressure was nowhere close to that. So, yeah, I agree. Colombo probably another season alone. Then let's see if he is Milan material. I agree. Another season alone for Colombo. So this season, I give him high ratings for what he did, but I would like to see him be a little bit more prolific as well. I think he finished the season with 6 goals, which is not great. But we know how players develop in Italy; it's a much slower process. So yeah, I would say one more season on loan, then let's see what he does, and let's see what they decide in the summer regarding Colombo. It's going to be quite interesting. Okay, let's go to chat. Then let's go talk about the budget, since that's in the headline of the stream. This guy is terrible. What the fuck? I think I saw this guy play at my local Sunday league. I swear God, he was playing in Pennsylvania. I kind of felt the same way. Did you guys see Leao taking the piss out of the Juve fans after Giroud scored? No, I did not see that. How was the pen? Emphatic? It was a regular penalty. I'm actually in shock that our budget is 55 million. We're going to be talking about that for sure. For sure. Redbird won't spend until the entire loan is paid off. Colombo's WAG is Milan level. He's got a hot chick. Is that what you said? Reporting the stream if you show Jackson highlights again. I wouldn't blame you, bro. I would not blame you. Okay, let's talk about the budget, man. What is going on with the budget, dude? Like, will we ever get a break, Antonio? What is going on with the budget?
Sounds like Jerry's pocketing the money at this point.
Cocaine costs a lot in the US, apparently.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the hell is going on with this budget, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, it's a mystery. So the latest reports today, as of today, are saying 50 million now. But that's 50 million besides sales, like that's without any sales. And speaking of which, also a little piece of news: we will be getting 7.5 million euros from Pessina because Monza are now getting him on a permanent deal from Atalanta. So we will get that money now. That's another news that came in today. So we have that extra money, and that I think this is all extra that should be reinvested. So, but apparently it'll just be an injection of 50 million euros. This is, we started at 100 million, then we went to 70. Now we're at 50. I mean, for me, it's like I think 50 is the most realistic just from last season and like what I've seen. It's always like, okay, we'll give you 50 million, but then you sell some players and then you can spend a bit more money, which is kind of a It's just really sad. I mean, I thought we would get at least 70 million injected. We made positive profits this year. We went far in the Champions League. We qualified for next year's Champions League. So, like we deserve a little more than 50 million, and it's kind of sad that that's what it's come to. Again, we're not sure, but realistically speaking, that's probably what it's going to be. I mean, these owners seem to be really, really bad in my opinion. It's sad because we should have been better. We could have had better owners. I want to be honest. But whatever. We have to kind of accept it, I think. We'll see.
Yeah, unfortunately, the numbers seem the same as last year, and I wish we had more transparency from the club. Of course, these are just what the journalists are reporting, so we don't know for sure. But I wish we had more transparency from the club in understanding how they calculate the budget and and where the money, because obviously we are making more money. Second year in the Champions League, we got to the semi-final. They were saying that in the Champions League, just the Champions League, the revenue was over 100 million. So where is this money going if not being reinvested into players? It's like every year it seems to be the 50 million, 50 million, 50 million. Like, okay, at that point, I'm going to ask the question because I am super pro sustainability project. But if sustainability means that every year our budget is this measly 50 million, then at that point it's like, what is the point of having being sustainable? I thought the whole point of being sustainable was so we can increase the budget without having to inject artificial money in the club. But it seems like there is no progress. It's always the same. We had we made more money this year, yet we have the same budget given to us for a mercato. If it's true, like I'm not, I want transparency. Like can someone at Milan? This is my suggestion for Milan, that they have like someone come out to talk to the fans and explain to them why certain decisions are being made. Kind of like Ali. I wish Pioli was more transparent about Ali. I'm flabbergasted at what I'm reading. It's disappointing. Yeah. So now there was a report saying 50 million, another report saying 70 million, and yeah, if you with the sale of players, it goes 100 million, etc., etc. But I'm looking forward to the day that we get, or maybe I was even thinking earlier, maybe it's a strategy. Maybe it's a strategy because they say 50 million just to tell the other clubs, hey, we're cheap and we don't have any money, because like you remember Fassone Mirabelli, they're like, hey guys, we are the cool kids in town. We got 250 million to spend. Beat that, bitch. Okay, you want Çalhanoğlu? 40 million, bitch. You want Conti? 40 million. So maybe there's that too, but I doubt it. So far, Longo at this time last year, he said 50 million, and he was right. We laughed at him. We were saying this motherfucker is crazy. He's taking too many drugs. But eventually, he was right. Now he's saying the same shit. So wherever he's getting this information from, it might be true. I just want to know why the budget is what it is. Just give us like, where are they extracting these numbers from?
I can tell you why.
Go ahead.
But you guys aren't ready to hear it. Well, not you per se, but it's because these owners are profit maximizing for themselves. They don't care about, like, for them. This is what I think Red John said, and I don't want to go into like an opinion because this is more of like a forum discussion. But Red John, I think, said it perfectly on the last forum. He said, if these owners had a choice of getting top 4 every single year for the next 10 years, but guaranteed of never winning a trophy, I believe, or not, or instead of like the normal path of variability, they would choose top 4 because that gives them guaranteed revenue, and that they can then and then they will reinvest minimally to do the same thing next year. So they don't care about our sort of heritage. If we win, it's just a plus. They don't care. That's the point. And that's what bothers me. And I've been saying this for a long time. And I was hoping that Redbird would be a bit better than Elliott, but it seems like they could even be worse than Elliott, because at least Elliott was increasing.
You're right.
It seems like Elliott was increasing the Mercato budget a little bit every single year. It's like we've done the opposite. We've like regressed, which is it's just crazy.
No, you're 100% right. It feels like we were owned by a hedge fund, right, that uses debt for collateral, and they were better than this ownership that is actually a sports company, a sports investment fund. Make that make sense. How the fuck is Elliott better owners? I mean, in quotation, better owners than Redbird. Like I'm not. Now listen, I hope Redbird at the end of the day proves us wrong, and by August Redbird shows us that they did put good effort in the market and they did help Maldini get the players that we want. Because at the end of the day, we want Milan to win. We want Milan to be one of the best clubs, if not the best club in the world. Like, this is Milan. We're not freaking Dortmund. We're not Ajax. We're not Roma. We're not Lazio. We're not Sassuolo. We're not Arsenal. No, we are Milan. We should be up there with Real Madrid. Let's not forget that. We are not a top 4 club. We are a top 1 club. And I know that right now the situation doesn't help us do that, but at least Redbird, show me that that's what you want to do. Give us I hope they do that. You're about to say something. Go ahead. Antonio? Looks like Antonio might be busy right now. All right, let's go to chat. Strategy is never let them know your next move. Maybe it is bad. Who knows? But very least they're meeting financial fair play requirements. Maybe. Jerry will rather trade all trophy for money than vice versa. Antonio is right about Elliott. Yeah, I agree. InvestCorp would have been better than Redbird. At this point, I'm obligated to say I agree as well, even though I wasn't a big fan of InvestCorp. I'm not going to put Kamada highlights because last time I put German highlights, they blocked my video. So we're not going to put Kamada highlights. Elliott is like 10 times bigger than Red Turd. Yeah, of course. We know that, yeah. Elliott did spend 75 million to 100 million, but Jerry is just shit. Like, I don't know. To me, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Okay. I guess we can talk about other subjects rather than Milan, since we have covered all of Milan. So national teams are coming up. We do have some. Let me translate this. Hold on. We do have some call-up sheets. Maybe we can discuss. One of the hottest topics, I do believe it is that Spalletti has said that he is done with Napoli. He's going to take a year off. Gazzetta also says Milan Kamada, it's done. These are the details. But Spalletti is going to take the year off. Luis Enrique looks like he's going to be taking that position. And so I wonder what's going to happen with Napoli. It's kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame because Napoli had done such an incredible job with their Mercato last year. That roster was incredible. The way that roster was built was mwah, mwah. I wish Milan would have built a roster like that this year. But it looks like it's going to fall apart, you know. That's the problem with Napoli, that they don't have what it takes to maintain, grow, and develop. Rather, they get to a certain point and then it all crumbles like a castle made of sand. So that's where Napoli. It looks like that's where Napoli is going. It looks like that the project is going to actually take a downward spiral rather than going upwards, which is, I don't like that. I want Napoli to be really strong because I want the competition in Italy to be strong. It makes everybody stronger. But whatever. It might seem that Napoli next year is not going to be too much of an issue if it is true that they're losing Kim, they're losing Osimhen, and blah, 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 blah. They've already lost Spalletti. As far as Juventus goes, someone said in chat that there is no appeal for Juventus, so things are going to stay the way they are. You can play Jackson non-league. Yeah. Elliott didn't borrow heavily to buy Milan. That's a great point, Ricardus. That is a great point. Yeah, and Paul's boy got called up for the Italian national team. I don't think there's anything else, guys. I think we covered everything for today. Okay, here we go. This is what we wanted to look at. Mancini has announced his Azzurri squad for a training camp ahead of Nations League finals. Let me see. Sandro Tonali has been left out, but he's instead expected to be called up for the U21. Yes, I totally agree with this. Calabria, that's something that maybe we should discuss. Does Calabria deserve to be in the national team? We'll talk about that in a minute. Sandro Tonali is not going to the seniors team, he's going to the U21. I completely agree with this call. The U21 is one of the stepping stones for the future. The U21 has a major tournament coming up in June. Sandro Tonali is going to be one of the main players, not only of just Italy, but the whole tournament. CDK is also going to be in that tournament. Him and a few other big names are going to be called up for the U21. Guys, I was looking at that U21 roster. It's good. The U21 Italy roster is looking really good. Tonali is going to be part of it too. Let's check out the seniors and what's going on with the seniors. So, Donnarumma, Meret, Vicario, the goalkeeper. Defenders, Baschirotto. There you go, Paul. He got his first call up. He did it. Bonucci, buongiorno, a dopo, a domani e ciao. Baschirotto, Bonucci, buongiorno, Di Lorenzo, Florenzi, Gatti, Spinazzola, Toloi. Romagnoli probably deserves to be there. Also, this tells me that Scalvini and Okoli are also going to be, and Udoge are also going to be in the U21. Guys, the U21 is looking really good. Midfielders, Cristante, Frattesi, Jorginho, Locatelli, Pellegrini. That's a top-level midfield. That is a top-level midfield. This midfield is top G-level status. Top G-level status. Forwards, Berardi, Chiesa, Gnonto, Immobile, Raspadori, Retegui, Zaccagni is back in the mix. This is a very strong team, very strong team. So now let's talk about our Milan boy. How come Florenzi is getting called up instead of Calabria? I mean, obviously the best Italian right back of the season was Di Lorenzo. You can't take that away from him. But Calabria played most of the season. Calabria deserves to be called up from the national team. I wonder what it is that Mancini is seeing and why he does not want to see Calabria. Now, as far as Florenzi goes, for me, Florenzi is a top player, guys. I've always said it. I know most of you don't agree with me, but Florenzi is an incredible footballer. Unfortunately, the guy is made out of glass, so you never get to see him. But I see why Mancini calls him up. Gasperini might be leaving Atalanta. Interesting. Okay, so I have a question. Let's see. Was Loftus-Cheek called up for the English national team? Let's check. Let's see. England call. No, I don't think. Are we getting a call up? Is England getting a call up? Okay, here we go. The Independent. See if we get to see whether or not Loftus-Cheek was called up. I'm very curious to see what's going on with Loftus-Cheek. I'm not seeing him. I'm not seeing his name. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. All right. Let's see if there's any other reports. And guys, we're going to be closing soon. We're going to go to chat. Before guys doing any of that, let's make sure that we click that like button. Huh? How about we do a little bit of that? What do we think about El Shaarawy, guys? AC Milan are looking to reinforce the team this summer, blah, blah, blah. El Shaarawy contract with Roma will expire at the end of the season, and the talks with Roma haven't gone too well. In fact, the former Milan manager is expected to leave the club and could perhaps join Milan again. As learned by our colleagues at SempreMilan.it, Milan are in indeed monitoring the situation, but they're yet to make a move for the winger. So El Shaarawy is one of the players that is being linked to Milan. For me, I don't know about this player. For me, I don't know. This is a regressive signing. Another player that seeing him being linked to us kind of makes me a little bit depressed. Let me be honest with you. What do you guys think about El Shaarawy? Would you like to see El Shaarawy? So Hisham says yes, El Shaarawy in. El Shaarawy got injured recently, right? I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't been following El Shaarawy's. I haven't been following El Shaarawy. All right, guys, listen, I think we've covered everything for today. It was mostly about the midfield. Today was mostly, we're mostly talking about the midfield. And most of this week is probably going to be about the midfield. So, a few things. The forum is back. So, we are going to be doing the forum again this week. There's a few games. We have the Europa League final, I believe, on Wednesday. I'm not sure whatever finals we have. I'm not sure when the Conference League final is. It probably is this week. And if anyone cares, so the U16, Kamada is playing in the U16, won their first playoff game against Empoli. So now they're going to be playing their second playoff game, and that is a quarter final. So we'll see how the U16 does again. This is a team that now 2 years in a row has won their league. Let's see if they can do a three-peat. And then other information that is relevant, worthy to talk about is, yeah, that's it, guys. Listen. We can give, this is my conclusion of the day. I'm going to give you my conclusion of the day. We can talk about a million players, all right? We can talk about Mikataudze. We can talk about this guy. We can talk about that guy. We can talk about this. We can talk about that. But at the end of the day, the only player, guys, listen to me very closely when I say this. The only player that is worthy of being linked to AC Milan, out of everybody that has been linked to AC Milan, is one person, and that is SMS. Yes, that is the harsh reality of the matter. I know it bothers some people, but that's the truth. The only player that we have seen today that is worthy of being linked to AC Milan is SMS. But having said that, let's also be optimistic. And let's hope that the players that we are going to get, like Kamada and like whoever else, is going to come and be good with AC Milan and is going to give us a lot of great satisfactions. Next season, I believe, is going to be even more difficult than this year. I think Inter is going to have a very strong team next year. I think Juventus is going to have a very strong team next year. I think Roma, Lazio, Atalanta, Napoli. I think Serie A is going nowhere. From what I'm seeing, I think Serie A is just going to be going up and up and up. So we can't show up next year with an average roster. We need to have a very good roster. And I'll say this one more time. So far, the Mercato has not yet officially started. I'm sorry if I upset a few people, but the only name worthy of being linked to AC Milan today is SMS. I hope that happens. We'll see if that happens. Kamada Sportiello is already better than how we started last year. Remember, we have to fill in the gap that Benacer is leaving. We have to get strikers. Giroud can't be the only player on the line. CDK, we don't know what's going to happen with CDK. No point in talking about CDK today. We don't know what's going to happen with Origi. Rebic is most likely leaving, so we have to replace Rebic. Diaz looks like he is going to go back to Madrid. So, maybe Kamada is already the replacement for Diaz, and that's why we got Kamada. We already got Kamada. SMS for the price of true is a no-brainer. Anyway, guys, I think that's it for today. Watch out for other streams. What? Oh, guys, subscribe to Milan Channel TV. That is Rock's Milan channel. He also has a Milan channel and a lot of good conversations there too. We are going to be doing live, and we're going to try to do lives on the daily. So tomorrow I'm going to try to do another live same time, and see who are the new links. We're going to talk about the Verona game, and we're going to be talking about the future of this club. But having said that, guys, I wish all of you a wonderful day, wonderful morning, a wonderful evening wherever you are. And I wish you all the happiness and success and blessings in the world. And Forza Milan, gentlemen. W Stream, thank you, my man. Forza Milan, Alan. SMS for SMS. Hell with Redbird. Forza Redbird. That's true, guys. Forza Redbird. We don't have the funds for a good bench. How can we win titles in Europe without depth? Depth is going to be one of the main issues. Why do Milan fans say yes to Ferrari but no to Zaniolo? Good question. Very good question. Good question. Okay, guys, listen, we've covered everything for today. Damn, that was a lot of material. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Like on the way out. We'll see you next time. Alla prossima. Arrivederci. And remember, always and forever, Forza, Forza, Milan. Ciao.